Hi, so I read Self Liberation Through Seeing with Naked Awareness, written by Padmasambhava, the master from Udayana. Okay, and I took notes, and I have complete quotations of like a summary of what I read, and also not exact quotations of sentences put together summarizing the text in a way that was more easier comprehended by me. So some of this is exact, some of it is not. I suggest you read it to find out. But essentially, well, you will understand what it is as I get through it. So self-liberation through seeing with naked awareness. It is about the single nature of the mind, which encompasses both samsara and nirvana. The mind has always existed from the very beginning. Since ordinary individuals do not understand the nature of mind, they do not recognize their own nature and thus continue to be reborn into worlds of suffering. So it is with understanding the true nature of the mind that you will break your karmic cycle. If you continue to divide space and awareness into duality, which people generally do, you will not attain Buddhahood. Space and awareness must become one. So this is basically implying that there is no separation from your mind, you viewing this, your mind, and me. I am me, and everything that you're perceiving around you is but a manifestation of your mind, and there is in fact no duality. Everything is mind. And samsara and nirvana are inseparable. In fact, they are both manifestations of your mind. Bliss and suffering is a manifestation of your mind. Nonetheless, because you persist in accepting and enduring attachments and aversions, you will continue to wander in samsara. So therefore, your active dharmas and your inactive ones both should be abandoned. I take this to mean your desires and repulsions, is what I wrote. Anytime you're gripping onto something, either in pleasure or in repulsion, and it's erroneous, and so pleasurable things like maybe good music that you like, or sex, or anything that you really love or are repulsed by, that's you gripping onto something or having a belief in something, which is a distraction from reality. However, mind doesn't actually exist. On the other hand, as a source, it is the origin of the diversity of all the bliss of nirvana and all the sorrow of samsara. So it's as if all things that we are perceiving exist in a realm of either nirvana or samsara, And those two things, though they seem like a duality, are of the single essence, are all within mind. But mind does not actually exist. It is just a source, and it is the origin. Thoughts in the past are clear and empty and leave no traces behind. Thoughts in the future are fresh and unconditioned by anything. And in the present moment, when your mind remains in its own condition without constructing anything. When you look into yourself without discursive thoughts, you will find lucid clarity without any observer present. Only naked, manifest awareness is present. It is empty and not being created by anything. And there is no duality. It is not permanent, nor is it created by anything. It is not permanent. I'm just going to highlight, I'm going to pin that for now. It is not nothingness, because it is lucid and present. So, in one hand, this text is saying that mind does not actually exist. So, existence must be talking about in the sense of how we perceive physical things to exist. Because it is a generative source. However, it does not exist, and it is not permanent, but it is also not nothingness, because it is lucid and present. You thus understand the nature of mind when you look in yourself. Your own manifest intrinsic awareness is just this. And nowhere does there exist the one who is the cause of the mental activity. Intrinsic awareness, actually let me pin that as well. Intrinsic awareness is self-originated and spontaneously self-perfected without any antecedent cause or conditions. Your own mind is insubstantial, like an empty sky. There's a lot of analogies to the mind being like an empty sky. However, it's just a metaphor. It doesn't exactly foretell the entire truth, but we'll get to that. It is like, mind is like it is certain that self-originated primal awareness has been clear from the very beginning, like the heart of the sun, which is itself self-originated. Intrinsic awareness is unceasing, like a channel of a river that flows unceasingly. The diversity of movements arising in the mind are insubstantial breezes that move through the atmosphere. Whatever appearances that occur are self-manifested. There exists no phenomena other than that what arises from the mind, other than the meditation that occurs, where is the one who is meditating? Other than the behavior that occurs, where is the one who is behaving? So when you're intrinsically looking in your mind and observing the way that it is, you become one with it, and your ego ceases to exist, and you can't place the one who is meditating. That is the reality of the situation. When you look upward into space of the sky outside yourself, if there are no thoughts occurring that are emanations being projected, and when you look inward at your own mind inside yourself, if there exists no projectionists who projects thoughts by thinking them, then your own subtle mind will become lucidly clear without anything being projected, like the sun rising in a clear sky. The self-originated, clear light, which from the very beginning was in no way produced by something antecedent to it, is the child of awareness, and yet it is itself without any parents. It does not experience birth, nor does there exist a cause for its death. It has wandered samsara with no harm. It has seen Buddhahood and has not come to any benefit. It exists everywhere and has gone unrecognized. When looking inward toward this intrinsic awareness, because it is lucidly clear, it cannot be wrong. Because the 3 times are one you should relinquish. The 3 times being what I had said about the past, present, and future, which let me read that again. Thoughts in the past are clear and empty and leave no traces behind. Thoughts in the future are fresh and unconditioned by anything. And in the present moment, when your mind remains in its own condition without constructing anything. So there is nothing. Okay, so because the 3 times are one you should relinquish all notions of the past and abandon all precedents. You should cut off all plans and expectations with respect to the future, and in the present, you should not grasp at thoughts that arise, but allow the mind to remain in a state like the sky. There is nothing upon which to meditate while in a primordial state, so there is no need to meditate. Observing this state of lucid pureness, there is no distraction, there is no meditation. Then you are observing everything with naked awareness. This is the enlightened mind. So there is no need to meditate because you should be practicing constantly this idea of non-duality and observing the mind as it is, like a flowing river that never stops. If you're seeing it unfolding in that way and you're not meditating, that is just perceiving reality as it is, and in the confines of time, or in this erroneous perception of time, relinquish all notions of the past, abandon all precedents, cut off plans and expectations with respect to the future, and in the present, you're not to grasp onto thoughts, but allow the mind to continue on like a river, and any sort of waves or motion in that river are similar to thoughts, but you can't grasp onto them. It's impossible in reality. And when you are, it's erroneous. It's a distraction from the reality of the mind, which is ceaselessly flowing. That's enlightenment. Your own self-originated primal awareness is the unique sphere. Unique sphere are the words from this text. Behavior and the one who behaves are not 2 different things. Since you have searched for the one who has meditated, and you have not found him, you also search for the one who behaves, and you have not found him. without accepting or rejecting anything and just letting things be as they are without trying to modify them, such conduct and behavior alone is pure. Therefore, pure and impure action are not two different things, because you're not grasping onto anything and everything is flowing continuously. What is realized and the one who realizes it are not two different things. Again, there is no duality of space and awareness. Everything is a manifestation of mind. Intrinsic awareness transcends and surpasses everything else because it cannot be conceived of by the intellect and is free of all conceptual limitations from the very beginning, and it is the basis of everything, of all the bliss of nirvana and all the sorrow of samsara. There is no reason to desire anything else besides this intrinsic awareness. If you do not desire that everything derives from the mind, it will not be possible for you to attain Buddhahood. Since you do not see the natural condition of the real disposition of things, you do not know that appearances come from the mind. And so you are thrust once again into samsara. Your own mind is actually the Buddha. Samsara and nirvana are of the mind, and there is no difference between them. Error and non-error are of single essence, which is the single nature of the mind. There is no distinction. Everything that we see to be as a binary, like hot and cold, and everything exists because of a binary, is actually a manifestation of a single being, which is mind, and is of a single essence. The unmodified, uncorrected nature of the mind is liberated by its being allowed simply to remain in its own original natural condition. Self-originated primal awareness becomes manifest and becomes systematically established as luminous clarity. Just this is the Dharmata, the nature of reality. Even though the indication of its existence is all phenomenal existence, which manifests externally to you, you are aware of it in your own mind, and this latter is the nature of the mind. The nature of the mind is empty and also intrinsically aware. Everywhere it is clear. So without distraction, simply allow the mind to remain in the state of being just as it is. Not a single distraction of the mind is created in reality. And so, accordingly, they disappear again. Everything is within samsara and nirvana. And samsara and nirvana are not duality and exist as one in the mind. Everything that you see is a manifestation of the mind, and everyone is perceiving their own distractions based upon their own distinct karmic vision. Not becoming attached to these perceptions is Buddhahood. Appearances are not erroneous in themselves, but because of your grasping of them, errors come into existence. But if you know that these thoughts only grasp at things which are mind, then they will be liberated by themselves. The mind in its natural state is liberated. When you're allowing thoughts to flow freely through your mind, they too become liberated. Anytime you're grasping onto them, that's just you staying in this cycle, this karmic samsara cycle, is you like grasping down into the earth and just staying longer than you need to. But when you're not grasping anything, you're free to be liberated. Because of the unobstructed nature of the mind, there is continuous arising of appearances like the waves and the waters of the oceans, which are not two different things. Whatever arises is liberated into the natural state of the mind, if not grasped by the individual. With respect to its real meaning, the mind and the individual does not exist other than as one, and moreover, this singularity is without any foundation and devoid of any root. It is an illusion that there is a separation of mind and self, like a Freudian superego, ego, and id, because when you look into your mind, you see all of that ceases to exist, and it's just like a still ocean. Okay, oil. Oil is a result from a sesame seed, but where the oil is not obtained without pressing. Buddhahood will not be realized without engaging in practice. So there is active understanding that needs to be done, and work, I suppose, that needs to be done. Even a cowherd can realize liberation. Anyone can systematically establish himself in the experience of it. When one has had the experience of actually tasting sugar, for example, in one's own mouth, one does not need to have that taste explained by someone else. So, experiencing this for yourself and at first meditating upon it and realizing this, or seeing your mind for what it is, you are experiencing it for yourself. One sec. Oh. Okay, I just took a shot of raw liver. Where was I? Yes, okay, so I think you need to meditate upon your own mind to come to any sort of realization. If you understand intrinsic awareness of all of your merits and sins, if you understand intrinsic awareness, all of your merits and sins will be liberated into their own condition. But if you do not understand it, any virtuous or vicious deeds that you commit will accumulate as karma, leading to transmigration and heavenly rebirth, or to rebirth in the evil. And so this doesn't necessarily mean that you can go out and sin and do whatever and it will be liberated, because if you are behaving in that way, then you are actually not understanding the intrinsic awareness. To fully understand it and practice it, I believe, I don't know what that looks like, but if you're not grasping, like if you're sinning, you're grasping onto something and you're still being driven by pleasure, short-term pleasure, temptations. So essentially, maybe you will sin when you are enlightened, but it'll be of a different nature, because with a greater understanding of mind comes, I'm assuming, just a with like lighter choices, or rather I don't know, living with some sort of dignity, because imagine everything that you're doing throughout the day. Basically, at least for me, like a Western person living in a capitalist society, everything I do is planning for the future, is making choices based on aversions or pleasures throughout the day. Everything is very short-sighted and erroneous according to this text, and not liberated and bogged down in earthly matters. If you understand this empty primal awareness, which is your own mind, the consequences of merit and of sin will never come to be realized. In the state of emptiness itself, the object of merit or of sin is not even created. So when you're truly living in harmony with this ocean of your mind, and you have this understanding of time, of past being empty, the future being unconditioned, and the present being unconstructed but not grasping onto it, then you are seeing with naked awareness in communion with the source. And so I went to, a few things that I want to talk about. Okay, even though the happiness of humans and the delights of the devas in heaven appear to you, they are but manifestations of mind. Okay, so the devas in heaven that appear to you are but a manifestation of the mind. So I was trying to understand, so who decides then that you have achieved Buddhahood or living with an enlightened mind? I was thinking maybe it's like a math equation, the amount of time that you spent living with naked awareness in tune with your mind is what deciphers whether you break your karmic cycle or not. But then I remembered Mott. I'm sorry, I don't know who weighs Mott. Oh, Mott is the okay, in the context of Egyptian afterlife, it is Anubis who oversees the weighing of the heart against the feather of Mott. This process, M-A''AT, this process is a crucial part of the judgment of the deceased, determining whether their heart is lighter than the feather, indicating a life lived in accordance with Mott's principles of truth, balance, and justice. And now this is interesting. If the heart is lighter than the feather, that kind of coincides with mind not grasping onto erroneous beliefs all the time. You're light, you're liberated, you're free when your mind is existing in its purest form. But then I was thinking, like, okay, Anubis would cease to exist. The devas, these devas in heaven that appear to you, are but manifestations of the mind. So who is weighing this out? And who is deciding this liberation? Does it come down to numbers or some sort of like mathematical quantification? Because there are always people that talk of afterlife, karma, and it's like, how and why can you even know about any of this to begin with? And I have read in Steiner that like druids were given this primordial knowledge, quote unquote, through like meditation or remote viewing, or I don't know how truthful remote viewing is, because most of it comes from the CIA, but they were somehow transferred primordial knowledge of early existence. Is that how this information about afterlife was understood, through meditation in the mind? I'm not sure. I don't know how anybody can justify this kind of information. So also I have come from, earlier today was in Catholic Mass, and it was very specific, like discussions of sense perceptions, of seeing and tasting the goodness of Christ, and like that is okay. First of all, there are so many forms of Jesus Christ. Okay. And what is he, a scapegoat for our sins? Is the everything surrounded with every form of Jesus Christ just a scapegoat? Hold on, let me try and like, if it is true, I understand with everything that I'm learning about, everything that I'm reading about, it all comes back to mind being the original source. And every individual has the capability to meditate inward into their mind. Like starting with my studies with Jung, looking into your subconscious, which is active in the sense that there are active beings in your subconscious, or like it's like an endless hole that you can go into endlessly, like a well. It just seems that this concept of consciousness is a source for a lot of things across all religions, and Christianity is but a tiny fraction of consciousness, and it is involving guilt, it is involving sins, it is worldly but you're telling me that even if you live in accordance with Jesus Christ and you're good, that is a smokescreen, or I don't know how to say, a limited hangout. Like, it is driving you away from the actual truth, which is mind. And I don't know, I'm just asking questions here, and I don't know if Christianity is the truth. It seems like consciousness is the truth. But then again, who can say, because who has died? Where did any of this information even come from? But anyways, it is clear that self-liberation through seeing with naked awareness by Padmasambhava, the master from Udayana, is just an introductory text into seeing with naked awareness. So I'm sure there's a lot more literature on this, and I will continue to look into the mind as it seems to be the answer across the board for a lot of these religions besides Christianity. Yeah, so thank you for this really crude analysis of this text, but I hope you pick it up for yourself and read it for yourself. Thank you.